paper, and the first question is in the name of Assembly Member Boff on streets versus blocks.
I think the answer, Andrew, is yes. In principle, I do prefer the aesthetic that you describe, and I think that your reasons for preferring it are right. I think that you can get just as much density, if not more, sometimes, and you can create communities in a different way. That doesn't mean that in every case we should be automatically hostile to good higher developments. And at transport nodes, at transport hubs, we will continue to have that policy. But if you look at some of the proposals that are happening, some of the things happening already in London, happening in the last few years, you are seeing 1960s high-rises coming down in favour of terraced housing. And I think that can be the right way forward.
That's an encouraging response, Mr Mayor. I'd ask you to go a little further than that. Are you aware that in planning authorities, at that stage one of consultation with the GLA, planners feel as though they have to put in tower blocks and flats in order to satisfy the requirements in the London plan for high density? And will you consider implementing the Create Streets recommendation that there should be changes to the London plan, possibly through supplementary planning guidance, removing high-density targets, which will promote tower blocks for new developments and estate redevelopments?
I mean, I think it was an interesting document, and I don't want to rubbish it entirely, and my planners really are going through it to see what if anything, we can take out of it. And it is certainly true, as you and I agree, and everybody knows, that you can get very good density rates with comparatively low-rise dwellings. And there's fantastic examples of that across London, old and new, in models old and new. I am certainly interested in schemes that will improve the quality of life for people in their communities. And that's why we've done what we've done with room sizes and other improvements. What I'm reluctant to do is issue any kind of blanket veto on good quality high-rise developments, which can be what a city needs, particularly at transport hubs. And I direct you to a very, very good book on urban development by a guy called Ed Glazer, called The Triumph of the City, which argues through some of the economics behind this. And I think that it can be done in a sensitive and attractive way.
Are you aware, Mr Mayor, that based on 2001 data, and I can only believe this figure has increased, that there are 100,503 households with children living in social tenancies on or above the second floor, and that while the only option is for overpressed housing departments, whilst the only option is to place families in apartments because of the lack of supply of terraced houses, ground floor properties, they will continue to place those families.
Well, there's a lack of supply of housing,
there is
full
a
stop.
huge lack of supply, and that we need to meet the deficit of many, many years of building apartments when what people really want, through every survey that you care to take, what people really want is houses with gardens, terraced, whatever, but on the ground floor and not in tower blocks.
What you say is entirely right about people's aspirations, and that is why we've, for the first time, put into the London plan a stipulation that there's got to be a minimum 42% of family-sized three-bedroom or more housing in each development. And I do think it is vital. And if you look at what we're going to do, for instance, at the Olympic Park, you look at some of the big developments that are happening around London, there is now a real emphasis on providing adequate family housing. And the demography of London is changing in a fascinating way. Families are no longer moving out to Essex or the far suburbs. They are staying in central London, and they need to have adequate housing. That is what we're building.
I entirely appreciate the support. what you've done with regard to the direction of travel with regard to the provision of family housing, and the increase is very worthwhile, and we know that the number of family properties that you've seen completed has been the greatest number for many years. However, a family property that is on the third and fourth floor, as we see, for example, in the Olympic Village,
sure,
I would say is not a suitable place to bring up families. So what I'm really asking you, one of the proposals in the report, is that either neighbourhood forums or some way of consulting with the local community should have the ability to actually override plans to build tower blocks in the area, give them some kind of say over whether or not that's going to happen in their area.
Don't forget, on the Olympic site, we are going to do another community land trust, where local people will have exactly the kind of say that you described. And furthermore, even on those parts of the Olympic site which aren't in the CLT, there are going to be fantastic family homes, and we are determined to recreate the very best of London in that Olympic Park with neo-Georgian or Georgian-style squares, terraces, and so on. I think they will be immensely attractive and desirable residents. If you look at the oversubscription of the Olympic Village already, 2,819 homes, 17,000 applicants for those homes. There is massive demand for housing of all kinds, but I accept that I accept completely what you say about family housing as well.
Thank you very much. And I will finish now. And Chobham Manor is a marvellous example of how you've changed the plans for the Olympic Village to be more family friendly. But there's an old adage. It's only when you start being sick of saying something that people start being noticed. And I'm sorry, but it's my intention to carry on banging on about this.
Well, Andrew, you've been banging on about it for 4 years, and I respect you, but I think you've been absolutely right. And we've been doing our level best to implement some of the things that you've been talking about.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.